Hi there everybody, I'm Fred Thomas and you are watching All Things Bike, and today we are speaking with Chris Darling, cycling coach at Kennet High School in Conway, New Hampshire. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Hey, well, tell us about being a cycling coach.
Coaching cycling has been great, and I've been doing it for about 20 years now at Kennet High School, and it's just a great opportunity to work with some of the high school athletes that like to ride bikes.
Yeah, so that's great. It's such a simple pleasure, but it's unusual. I mean, you look at most high schools, and you don't see a cycling team. How did it get started at Kennet High School, and what's the background, you think?
An individual, Phil Ostrowski, is a local community member that started the team back in 1998. There had been some cycling history previous to that with Steve Swenson and some individuals that started a road club back in the 80s. But Phil had come up with the idea with some student interest in cycling and starting a mountain bike team. So they did that, and I came on board about a year later. And since then, it's just been wonderful. Phil's retired, so I've been head coach since 2007. And just a really great opportunity to be able to get out of school and ride with some students and go ride some of the terrain we have in North Conway. It's just a real blessing.
Right. So it's a mountain bike team, but so explain. What is a practice like? Is it really just let's go ride this trail, or do you have them doing drills, and is there a sort of a lecture section on it?
Over time I've learned some lessons about how to take a group of athletes, boys and girls, racing in the woods, and be safe at those times. So typically, a practice session would involve gathering the kids together and having, a discussion about 5 minutes, talking about safety. We spent a lot of time early in the season getting to know some of the terrain. There's some beautiful trails put together by NEMBA, which is our local trail building organization. So really fortunate to have that quality trails right outside the high school. But we don't want to lose anybody. So we look at some of the terrain, we'll talk about safety, and then we'll give them a goal for the day. This is the technique we're going to work on. Right. Usually a skill, some kind of mountain bike skill, mounting or dismounting or shifting. And then we'll go ride. We have what's kind of a rolling enclosure as far as the coaching staff. Nice. Some coaches in the front and in the back, and as many parent volunteers as we can gather, sprinkled in the middle to just to provide some control there. That's
great. So everyone is out, no screens here in this practice, and so boys and girls, and then are they training for an event or a series, or is there a league, a high school league somewhere?
The league started sort of concurrently with what we were doing for practices for many years, and it's grown considerably. I remember our first team at Kennet, we had 6 riders, and there were 3 schools: White Mountain School, Kimball Union, and Kennet High School. And we're racing at the Bear Notch Touring Center. Just a few coaches and a few kids racing. Yeah. That's grown into a league that has over 29 schools, 4 states, and over 400 registered racers. So that has been a challenge as the league grows, and where do we go from here? We've actually split the league into 2 because it's gotten so large logistically. We have an East and a West league. That really helps with race setup and venues and so forth.
It keeps the races a little bit smaller too. Or how many racers at a typical high school
So we
event?
usually have about 6 events a year with the championship for the series. And there's anywhere from 5 to 6 schools and about 200 racers in each league. We tried to split it up to make that an even number. Racing our division, we raced in the Eastern Division with some schools from Maine, Fairbury Academy, Fort Kent, and Kennet and White Mountain School and those.
And do they travel? Are there regional events or maybe national events? I guess that
there are a few other races besides our 6 that some of the schools participate in. There's an enduro race that they offer, and some other downhill type of races, but just the 6, and again, that's why we did make that split with the league, because travel was an issue with the league so large. Just logistically, it made it difficult.
Well, what are the kids like? I mean, describe some of the athletes. I mean, are they natural? Have they been riding bikes since they were 3, or do they sort of stumble into it because they just had a bike around? I mean, give us a sense of
well, we've had a number of athletes over the years. North Conway is just a great outdoors type of environment. A lot of our parents will ride bicycles, and a lot of the kids will ride bicycles as well, so that's been great. It is a fall sport, so we're usually competing with some student athletes that either play soccer or some other sports. So typically it's more of the endurance athletes. We get a lot of skiers that are looking to cross-train and to race with us. Some students that may have never been part of an organized sport in high school and wanted to try something out. This gives them an opportunity to do that. And like you mentioned before, we're a public high school. A lot of schools that we race against are private. And this gives those kids just another opportunity to engage in a high school sport. And just have a great time.
And do some of them, when they graduate, do they keep with it and end up racing mountain bikes or road bikes in college or in some other discipline?
Yeah, we've had a number of students go off to many different universities, a few even earning some cycling scholarships.
Wow.
And in the past, that's another great feature when you've coached as long as a series, having some student athletes come back and visit you and get to ride with you after school is really great.
Yeah,
and, share some stories, and it's really fun.
And they tell the stories with the existing team, and then they go off and do crank the cank and dazzle everyone. You mentioned it's very rewarding, and tell us about some of the rewards, but tell us about some of the challenges too.
Well, some of the challenges is, first most, it's a cycling team, and bikes can get rather expensive. So, offering something like Crank the Cank as fundraisers has really helped the team sort of build or have an ability to meet some of those needs. Flat tires, broken chains, things like that. That's always a challenge with any number of bikers in the woods. And I've had years where we've had over 45 students on the team.
Wow.
So that's a large group of
people.
And anytime you have that number of bikes, there could be a mechanical. So dealing with those can be a challenge. Again, the number of students and making sure we're providing a safe environment is challenging, and just the growth of the league has been difficult. But those are good challenges to have.
Sure.
As kids become more engaged and want to ride bikes.
Yeah, that's great. And elaborate on the club that's affiliated with Crank the Cank and Kennet High School. It's the Mount Washington Valley Bicycling Club. And what role do they play in?
The Mount Washington Valley Bicycle Club has done a great job. We've partnered with them for years, and number one, to put on Crank the Cank. I couldn't do it without all of our volunteers, our sponsors. They've been great to us. They also have a hand in youth cycling development in the Valley. Going on next week is the Kids Bike Safety Day at Storyland. It's a great day for community members to come in, and the Velo Club supports that and runs a number of different events where kids can come in and win some free stuff and have a bike handling demo and practice and talk with some people. And it's a great way to share that passion for bikes with some of the younger folks. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great stuff, Chris. Well, look, thanks so much for coming in and telling us about this great program. It's great to hear that cycling exists at the high school level. And good luck with all the events and organizations and all the events that are on the horizon.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. That was Chris Darling, a cycling coach at Kennet High School in Conway, New Hampshire. You can learn more about Kennet High School and the Mount Washington Valley Bicycle Club on their website. That's all we've got time for right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by Zentis, performance carbon wheels handmade in Austria for road and off-road riding. Zentis, next generation wheels. And Frame and Wheel eBay bike selling services. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.